Truth Seekers, welcome back. Zach here. Yesterday, July 17th, 2016, there was another staged propaganda shooting in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. This propaganda is serving an agenda of dividing the people and militarizing the police of the United States of America. This is an ongoing agenda. It's been taking place for decades. It seems that it is coming to perhaps a pinnacle, an endpoint. We're being led up to something. I have been exposing what's going on by showing how it is all coded propaganda since 2013. And the reason I show the coding in the propaganda is to add a scientific layer of evidence beyond opinion and what is apparent to our eyes and our intelligence. You know, from the time of September 11th, 2001, up until I was 30 years old, which was a span of 12 years, I always argued my opinions, stated my opinions, using logical arguments, reasoning, what's observable with the eye. I recognize that getting through to people, you can get through to some people that way, but for so many people, they just want to deny the truth and create a straw man argument to turn it off. I'm trying to create something so concrete to prove that the real conspiracy is taking place in this world that we as a people need to stop. There is a conspiracy to control us, to divide us, to make our lives worse than they need to be, and it is largely waged by our own Western governments and through the television, through the mainstream media channels, which the TV is the most powerful of. So, this language of gematria, it is an ancient esoteric practice, coding numbers into words. And from my research, I have shown that the English language is very much based on gematria. If you've never seen my how-to gematria video, check it out. If you've never seen my work on things such as Independence Day, or Thanksgiving, or why we celebrate these holidays when we do, check it out. I've revealed so much that anyone who takes the time to think about what I'm presenting, they won't be able to help themselves but realize this is really what's been going on. What I am saying is the truth, and by recognizing that this is the truth, we can spread this knowledge and stop what's taking place. So, understanding the language of gematria, I'm going to show you just what is coded into this image of this man named Gavin Long, according to the media, who supposedly attacked the Baton Rouge Police Department, killing 3 officers and injuring 3 more yesterday, as reported. They're saying he's a member of the Nation of Islam. I want to show you why that's so interesting. But we're going to start right here with this image. If you missed the work I put out yesterday on this shooter, please check out that video. This video is a follow-up. I'm trying to explain things as clearly as possible because so many people saw my video yesterday and apparently thought it was ridiculous, when my work is anything but ridiculous. My work is truly proven at this point. You study the scientific theory, setting up a hypothesis, doing, the work to see what the result is of that hypothesis. I've done that work. My hypothesis is way beyond proven at this point. So let's start here with this ball cap. TMT. Yesterday, I talked about how the Blue Lives Matter bill was signed by the Louisiana governor, protecting police from threats such as Black Lives Matter. We got the shooting of Alton Sterling in Louisiana. Then that same day that news broke, the death of Philando Castile in Minnesota. Then the day after that, a retaliatory killing in Dallas at a Black Lives Matter protest. All of these events are staged as part of a narrative, a divide and conquer narrative, an agenda narrative. What I pointed out yesterday was that the Blue Lives Matter bill signed to protect police from threats, that was signed May 26, 2016, exactly 53 days before the shooting. And yesterday, they said the shooter's name was Gavin, which in gematria equals 53, just like shooting itself. And again, a Louisiana bill protecting police from things such as this, and then the shooting coming 53 days later. Now they put out this image of him. We'll talk about these computer screens as well, but this hat, the letter T's the 20th letter, M's the 13th, 20 plus 13, 33. Plus 20 more, 53. Just like Gavin, just like shooting, just like the span of days, just like what they do in all of these hoaxes. They code them by the numbers. They put clues and coding everywhere. It's all part of a grand mocking. From May 26th, the date of the bill, to July 17th, 53 days. Also 7 weeks and 4 days. Masonic equals 74. Jewish equals 74. Truth seekers, welcome back. Zach here. Remember, Nation of Islam has gematria of 58, just like Freemasonry, just like Alton Sterling, the man supposedly killed in Louisiana. With the S exception, Alton Sterling equals 67. With the S exception, all of these sum to 67 as well. The Blue Lives Matter bill was signed on a date with 67 numerology. Philando Castile equals 67. All connected. The Black Panther Party was started by Huey P. Newton in Oakland, both 58 coding. This year, Cam Newton, who plays with the Black Panther on the side of his helmet, became the 58th quarterback to start in a Super Bowl, hosted by San Francisco, not too far from Oakland. All of this stuff is scripted. Sports, news, the Masons and Zionists have built a box around us. We live in the box that they've built. And that's what needs to happen. We need to break that box, stop these ongoing patterns, stop this tyranny, this Masonic Zionist tyranny. That's the point of my work. Use this knowledge to help meet that goal. So anyway, in the background, on his computers, it says Convos with Cosmo, which is apparently his Twitter handle as well. I talk about the coding of this number against black men often. Convos with Cosmo equals 213. Hands Up Don't Shoot equals 213. Black History Month equals 213. Black History Month is February, which ends on the 59th day of the year. February 28th, 31 days in January, 28 days in February. 31 plus 28 is 59. 59 is a number stamped all over black Americans. Negro equals 59. Slave equals 59. Blues equals 59. Rasta equals 59. Motown Records came out in 59, the black music label. February is also the only month with 42 gematria. The most hateful word for black Americans sums to 42. You know what that word is? Starts with a N. I used to say it, but so many people complain when I do that I've stopped. And when I did say it, I wasn't trying to hurt anyone's feelings. This is an educational channel. I'm just trying to empower people with knowledge and show what's behind these words, what's going on in this world. But there's a reason Jackie Robinson wore 42. Anyhow, 59 and 42 have a relationship. When you write out 5 as a word, it sums to 42. When you write out 9 as a word, it sums to 42. No other single-digit numbers do. But 213 coded on him. I mean, just think about hands up, don't shoot. That's the motto from all of these staged shootings. All of the stuff reported in the media is staged. The police get away with murder, injustice all the time. Even in most of these staged shootings they do, which is all part of the narrative and the provoking people. You know, enforcing the mentality, don't mess with authority. This shooting yesterday came July 17th, 2016, a date with a life lesson number 33. That's a format of getting the date numerology, 33 life lesson number for that. Shooting leaves 3 police officers dead, 3 injured. Police in gematria equals 33. Once upon a time, the people who wore the white sheets, the KKK, they often were the police, the people in authority, the government. That's why they hid behind the costume. K's the 11th letter. KKK 33, race war 33. Think about Rodney King getting beaten 3-3. Sandy Bland 33. TM for Trayvon Martin 33. Again and again, Trayvon Martin buried March 3rd. Black lives in gematria equals 33, which is controlled opposition. That's why this number's stamped on it. They're taking people who have the right intentions. They're getting them overworked up. They're getting them to commit to groups that are being used for narrative. You know, the White House just having a conversation about, is Black Lives Matter a terrorist organization? This is all part of a planned, contrived narrative. They dupe the populace into falling for it. Masonry in gematria 33, secrecy, Freemasonry, a secret society. I should have mentioned that secret society equals 58, just like Freemasonry. It's no question who built our language. I'm going to link this post. If you want to come here, you can read about the deaths of Tupac by 213, Len Bias, the basketball star, Reggie Lewis, Moses Malone. Tupac came out with his final studio album February 13th, 2/13. He died exactly 213 days later, September 13th, 13/9 equals 139. Freemasonry, the big way, equals 139. Tupac Shakur, the big way, equals 139. Tupac Shakur's name also connects back to 58. Len Bias, the basketball player, dead by the numbers right after being drafted by the Celtics, died 213 days after his birthday. They often measure from the birthday in these ritual killings. Reggie Lewis, another Celtic, final score of that game, 213 points. Moses Malone, he died this year at age 60, just before the NBA season began. Originally drafted out of high school by Utah, played the majority of his career for Philadelphia. Kobe played his final game this year exactly 213 days after the death of Moses Malone against Utah, and finished with 60 points in a scripted performance where Utah didn't score in the final 5 minutes. No joke. The Masons, the Zionists, they're laughing at us, they're mocking us, they're making us hate each other, and we're falling for it hook, line, and sinker, and we're getting mad at the people who are telling us the truth. Malcolm X, someone who was murdered by the numbers, had a lot of these same numbers stamped on him. Malcolm X, he said, be careful, or you'll find yourself, loving your enemy and hating the person who cares about you. You look at all the critics I have in my comments, that's that Malcolm X quote right there. For something a little more recent, let me show you what just happened in France. Big hoax by the numbers connected to 213. This movie came out Bastille Day. Came out April 22nd, 2016, 22/4. Remember that date, 224. This movie is about CIA, terrorism, Bastille Day. From the date of the release of this movie, April 22nd, to the date of the Bastille Day attack was 84 days, or 2 months and 23 days. They said in the killing, 84 people were killed. And if you looked at the dead bodies they showed in the news, they were plastic dummies with fake blood. Embarrassing. Not a thing about it looked anywhere near real. If it was a movie and people were watching, they'd be like, those weren't very good special effects for this day and age. But when it's in the news, people just accept it, and they don't question it, and they don't even think about it. But they need to. The president of France, his name in gematria equals 84. Same with the president of the United States of America, who's also born on 8/4. And United States of America equals 84. And there's a book called 1984 that came out after World War II about a futuristic nation ruled by propaganda and screens and who are emotionally charged and drink beer and watch sports and don't know shit about shit and hate those who do. This is the day we live in. This is the 1984 age. 8/4, April 8th, is also the date the Zionist Jews and Masons in France and Britain carved up Africa. Go back and read about Rhodesia and diamonds. Diamond equals 33. Things that are used to rule the world, enslave people, tyranny. By these numbers all throughout history. Older than 1984. There's a reason that book's titled that. Next year will be 33 years since 1984, and it looks like we're heading for a rough year ahead. The date of that Blue Lives Matter bill, to bring it back to that, was signed, to protect police from threats. Now we're getting these staged police shootings. Notice it was 5 dead in Dallas, 3 dead in Louisiana. Dallas, Texas equals the same thing as Baton Rouge, equals the same thing as hate crimes. But anyhow, that bill signed 147 on the 147th day of the year, May 26, 2016. Police equals 147. We get these police shootings. The second one coming 53 days after the bill. 5 dead in Dallas, 3 dead in Louisiana. Johnny Dunham, the spokesperson for the Alton Sterling, his name in gematria 147, common in these media stories. So the other thing I want to do in this video is call out Mark Dice. This guy really makes me want to vomit. Sorry, loud car going by. I don't like loud cars either. That loud car, it's actually a perfect introduction for what I'm about to show for Mark Dice. Listen to this loudmouth asshole contribute to the agenda. Mark Dice says he's here for the truth, to expose the Illuminati. Meanwhile, he plays right into their traps with each one of his posts. Listen to this race war baiting from Mark Dice. I'm going to show you that this guy's a Zionist shill agent by the numbers. He's born on December 21st, supposedly. 12 plus 21, 33. He's been doing a lot of shilling for the very dishonest police force we have in this nation. Police department equals 77. Police officer equals 77. 7-7 shooting in Dallas. Mark Dice, supposedly born in 77. He lives in San Diego. San Diego equals 74, like Masonic, like Jewish. Sure, a lot of people do, but you have to remember, they code out their agents with the numbers that matter. Put them in the locations they want them in. Let's listen to Mark Dice do some serious shilling, and then let's show his connections to Zionist Israel.
All day we heard the mainstream media say they didn't have a motive, and they denied to mention the fact that the shooter was black. Another crazed black man targeting police.
Another crazed black man targeting police. I'm going to send Mark Dice a free copy of my book because really in the history of this nation there's been a lot of shooters on TV, but hardly any of them have been black. And what's worse is every single black shooter in the history of this country has had the number 42 coded on him, including yesterday's shooter because they said it was on his birthday, and birthday equals 42, just like the most hateful word for black people, the same number Jackie Robinson wore. Let's continue with Mark Dice, the shill. Starts right away with the hate and division.
A look at some of his final tweets from his Twitter account where he...
If you haven't seen my work on this image, the Dallas shooter, there's a 44 and an 84 in the background. Numbers we just talked about, shooting also equals 44, kill equals 44, military equals 44. Obama's the 44th president. If you add the divisors of 44, they sum to 84. Obama equals 84, born on 8-4, 44th president. Always coded, always propaganda, also a member of the Nation of Islam, supposedly. You know, here's Mark Dice using the Illuminati propaganda truly, and then saying he's trying to out them while contributing by playing to a side.
Praised the Dallas shooter. Again, initially, the Black Lives Matter propagandists said that, well, it could be a...
And also, if you look at this image blown up, it says colors right there, right over his bicep, colors. I mean, just how staged is this? How blind do you have to be to not see what they're trying to do? You know, 2 stories in one day of killing a black man, when does that ever happen? Then the retaliatory killing the next day, it's all staged.
Supremacist, it could be some ISIS fighters. So he proudly proclaimed that the Dallas assassin was black, where he tweeted out the shooter was not white, he was one of us. This is the final tweet from this Twit's account where he signals that he's ready.
And see how he uses these words, tweets, twits, all these derogatory terms. Everybody knows who has the brain that's trying to help out with stopping what's going on, knows that these stories are meant to provoke people, charge them, put anger in them, make them want to act out, get revenge. And then Mark Dice's response is to keep putting out these videos, calling people derogatory names, laughing, mocking. It's so transparent, it's sick. And supposedly this guy has over 500,000 subs. Some of these videos where he's spreading this hate have millions of views. It's just sick. Videos that have more views than my entire channel and all the very important information I've put out.
Die saying just because you wake up in the morning doesn't mean you're really living, and just because you shed your physical body doesn't mean you're dead. That was the...
And notice the tweet, there it is again, combos with Cosmo, the 213 coding. February 13th, the 44th day of the year, kill equals 44. I should have mentioned that number coded on black men, black people, 59, and Jewish gematria, kill equals 59.
Final tweet from this demonic dirtbag's account, who was a member of the Nation of Islam.
Yeah, I was also a Nation of Islam member. Yeah, I was also a Nation of Islam member. Yeah, I was also a Nation of Islam member.
Imagine if he was a real truth channel. He'd be sharing my video showing what's really going on in that shot.
Black Lives Matter supporters are denying that fact as well. Here's another tweet where he says, violence isn't the answer, it's a answer. But at what point do you stand up that your people don't become the Native Americans? Extinct. Signaling, thinly veiling his plan to go on a murderous rampage. Again, saying that if he pulled a U on you, you wouldn't like that bleep. Signaling, claiming, and
Notice how as Mark Dice reads through this, I mean, he doesn't offer any thoughtful analysis. It is true we do live in a nation that began with a genocide. Genocide equals 44, just like kill, just like military, no mistake. NATO formed on 4/4, April 4th. You know, all Mark Dice does is pander to the mainstream narrative. And somehow people think this is a truth channel. It's amazing. Alex Jones, very much the same thing. Alex Jones has all the numbers of Freemasonry and Zionism coded all over him. These guys pander fear and division.
Leo mind that the police are out systematically trying to murder black people. Let's read one more. He said here that you can talk or...
And look how he mocks that the system's trying to systematically murder black people. I just said 59 equals kill. They say that AIDS was discovered in the Belgian Congo. Belgian Congo equals 59. They say it was discovered in the year 1959. That's where the original case traces back to. 1959, Belgian Congo. You know what that tells to me? It tells me that the story is bullshit, and all the people who think that AIDS, HIV was developed to target certain people, including black people, tells me that they're 100% right on the money. You know, Mark Dice, he doesn't bring up things like the Tuskegee experiments, injecting men with syphilis. A lot of sick stuff's been done in this nation, and think about just how many things there are probably just like the Tuskegee experiment that have never made the light of day. You know, Mark Dice, one of these people that just mocks the truth. There's nothing worse than somebody who pretends to be about something and then does the opposite, which is essentially what Zionism is.
Test the devil into changing his ways. That has never been done and never will. He says right here, exact justice and blood, he says. Final note, the Twitter sphere, the Black Lives Matter propagandists, were falsely claiming that it was a white supremacist and a member of the sovereign citizen movement, even got sovereign citizens trending on Twitter after they found this old 2012 article from a cop killer in Louisiana, failing to read the date, failing to read past the headline, or perhaps a purposeful move to try to prevent the truth from coming out about the race and the motive of this psychotic Black Lives Matter Nation of Islam supporter. I'm Mark Dice. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my YouTube channel here if you're new on a daily basis.
No thanks. If anyone subscribed to that channel, you need to reevaluate. Also, here's another thing I want to point out. You know, as he mocked the very real reality that there is an agenda to kill and destroy black lives in this world, I don't deny that. Here's some more evidence, and who has done it. Mark Dice says he's a Christian, and if you read the Bible, the final book, the book of prophecy, it says the false Jews will rule in the end times. We call them the Zionist Jews. Let me show you the connection between Zionism and Freemason. Very special number to this gang. You know, they say the victors write the history books. If you read the Bible, it seems apparent that the real Jews are dark-skinned people with hair of wool, which to me, in this world, are the black people. You know, perhaps there was a time where there was another race of darker-skinned people. They were a mixture. It doesn't really matter. The point is if you read the Bible, you can tell that the Jews are darker-skinned people overall. The Jews that we recognize as Jews in this world, Jewish, they're not that dark, you know? It says in the Bible, which Mark Dice says he goes by, that the false Jews will rule in the end times. Well, we're living in what you could call the end times, you know? Very bad times to live in. Live under total control, total tyranny. We have all this nice gadgetry to distract us from how bad things are. You know, environments being destroyed, quality of life declining across the planet, but we have all this technology to distract us from reality. So anyhow, Africa. Africa and death are identical in gematria. And if you look at what's going on in that nation, it should come as no surprise. And if you look at who's carved up that nation and done what they've done, it has been the Masons and Zionists from Europe, from the Americas. This is all part of a long, ongoing agenda. And the word Jew also has gematria of 38. And I don't think that's any coincidence, because I'm pretty sure this is the land of the original Jews. Everybody who thinks they know or are so committed to what they believe, recognize what day and age we're all living in. We're deep in the game. Civilizations have come and conquered others and destroyed history and what happened in the past. We get to experience how these things happen in real time. Remember when we first invaded Iraq? The news headlines within 48 hours were how all the museums were being looted and destroyed with all this ancient history of the world. We are people who have been made not to know. So we have to figure out what is from real evidence, from what we can determine, what we can look at. There was a time when I didn't know if gematria was real evidence, but I've done enough decoding, enough applying it to see what is. And just understand, my message is a message of unity, wake up, and stop the agenda that's in place. The people who are responsible, the Zionists, they need to be called out. Calling them out, that's not anti-Semitic, that's not racist. These are the people who have an agenda, who are controlling media and government and executing this plan that they wrote out centuries ago. Read the Protocols of Zion from the late 1800s. It says how the Zionists will defeat everybody who is not Jewish, the Goy. And their plan is divide and conquer among race, religion, and everything else. It's what our media pumps 24/7. It's what Mark Dice Zionist agents, that's what they're here for. So I want to show you something about Mark Dice. First, let's start with Israel. Israel has gematria of 64. 64. Zion, for Zionism, 64. Thelema is this occult religion that worships the number 93. Israel was drawn up on the date September 3rd. Their Congress is called Knesset, which has gematria of 93. Their speaker's name is Edelstein. If it's spelled right, I'm not sure this is the right spelling, but I do know when spelled correctly, yeah, that is it. Edelstein 93. 93 is the number of Saturn, the keeper of time. The point is, Thelema, it worships this number which connects to Saturn. So do the Zionists. Israel, Zion, Thelema, all 64. The saying in Thelema is, do what thou wilt. Gematria of 64, essentially like, do whatever you want. And anyway, Mark Dice, clearly a Zionist agent, someone who gets off on mocking the public and contributing to what's wrong. Not a very believable name either, Mark Dice. 64, not a coincidence. I'll show you another Zionist agent. Barack Hussein Obama, elected 44 years after the Civil Rights Act of 64. And sadly, the Civil Rights Bill was given to us by these Zionists as well. It was a symbolic thing that never really did anything for anybody. Race relations are worse now in this country than they were then. Quality of black life in this nation is worse now than it was then. Crack was something targeted at black Americans. Crack cocaine sent black quality of life off a cliff for a lot of nations in this world. Very targeted. Something Mark Dice doesn't want to acknowledge. And that targeted attack, it spread. Now crack destroys all sorts of poor people in this world. And it fuels the prison industrial complex. We're in a nation where we smuggle in drugs, get people addicted, and instead of having, ways to help them get over their addiction, we have prison sentences. And then we turn people into slave labor. The agenda's huge, and I've seen through this agenda for a very long time. And now what I do video by video is just show how these bogus news is contrived to keep us on the path of the narrative we're on. How many times did Mark Dice say psychotic black man? Really what it is a black man who sold himself out and everyone else out for a little bit of coin, getting paid to play the part. And what I can't tell you for sure is if these people really are being killed, if they're being set up and framed, something is going on. Is this man alive somewhere else in the world today? These are the questions I can't tell you definitively, but I can tell you how these characters are being created, why, and what they're being used for. All right, Truth Seeker, until next time.